2:47 a.m. County Immediate Dispatch Center. Line 4 is ringing. In 30 seconds, a woman named Jenny Jakes will answer this call and have exactly 8 minutes to save a life. The caller is standing on a bridge, 32 years old, mother of 2. She's called 911 not for rescue, but to say goodbye. Jenny has never met this woman. She never will. But in the next 8 minutes, she'll become the most important person in this stranger's life. This is call number 47. 47 times. Jenny Jakes has been the last voice someone planned to hear before ending their life. 47 times. She's talked a complete stranger back from death using only her words, her training, and something no manual can teach. This is the story of the 911 dispatcher who saves lives you'll never read about in the news, who prevents tragedies that never make headlines because they never happen, who carries the weight of 47 souls she's never seen but will never forget, and why the loneliest job in emergency services might also be the most heroic. Meet Jenny Jakes, 38 years old, mother of 1 daughter. For 11 years, she's worked as a 911 emergency dispatcher for a county of 400,000 people. Her shift runs 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., 4 nights a week. Her workspace is a 6 by 8 foot cubicle with 6 computer screens, 3 phone lines, and direct radio contact with police, fire, and medical units across the county. Jenny makes $18.50 an hour to be the first voice people hear during the worst moments of their lives. Car accidents, home invasions, heart attacks, domestic violence, fires, overdoses, and the calls that keep her awake long after her shift ends. The ones from people who've decided they don't want to be alive anymore. On an average 12-hour shift, Jenny handles between 80 and 120 emergency calls. Most last 2 to 5 minutes. Some are false alarms. Some are routine medical transports. But some calls require Janibto become a lifeline for people in crisis, a guide for bystanders performing CPR, a calm presence for someone hiding from an intruder, a connection to help for someone experiencing their darkest moment. The training manual covers emergency medical dispatch protocols, call prioritization systems, and crisis intervention techniques. It's 300 pages of procedures, codes, and decision trees. None of it prepares you for hearing someone say they want to die. Jenny's first suicide call came during her 4th year as a dispatcher. 3:17 a.m. Male caller, age 23, military veteran. He'd called to report his own suicide. "I just wanted someone to know," he told her, "so my mom doesn't find me in the morning." Jenny had 63 seconds of training specific to suicide calls. Keep them talking. Build rapport. Get location. Dispatch units. Follow the script. But there's no script for convincing someone their life is worth living when they've already decided it isn't. That first call lasted 19 minutes. Jenny kept the veteran talking while police units raced to his location. She asked about his military service, his family, his dog, small details that created connection where none had existed. Officers arrived in time. The veteran was transported to psychiatric care. Jennifer never learned his name or saw his face. She went home that morning, kissed her sleeping daughter, and cried in her car for 40 minutes. Then she came back for her next shift and did it again. Over 11 years, Jenny has received 16 formal commendations for her work. Saved caller from house fire. Talked suicidal subject to safety. Provided critical pre-arrival instructions during cardiac arrest. The certificates hang in her cubicle, but Jenny doesn't look at them. She looks at the photo of her daughter and remembers why she does this work. Every person who calls 911 is someone's daughter or son, she told me. Someone's parent or sibling or friend. They matter to someone, even if they don't feel like they matter to anyone. My job is to remind them of that, even if I only have 8 minutes to do it. Suicide calls follow a pattern that Jenny has learned to recognize instantly. The flat effect in the voice, the past tense language, the gratitude for answering the phone. "Thank you for taking my call." they often say. As if Jenny had a choice. As if she might have been too busy to answer. Someone standing on the edge of forever. The protocol is clear. Assess immediate danger. Build rapport. Keep them talking. Determine location. Dispatch crisis intervention team. But between those clinical steps is where Jenny actually saves lives. Call 47 happened on a Tuesday night in October. The call came in at 2:47 a.m. from a woman Jenny will call Sarah. Not her real name, because Jenny never learns their real names. Sarah was calling from a bridge overpass above the interstate. She was 32 years old, mother of 2 children ages 6 and 4. Her husband had left 3 months earlier. She'd lost her job. She couldn't afford her apartment. "I just can't do this anymore," Sarah told Jenny. "My kids deserve better than me." Jenny had 8 minutes before Sarah said she would jump. Jenny's first words weren't from the training manual. They were something she'd learned through 46 previous calls. "Sarah, I'm so glad you called. Can you tell me about your kids?" Not step away from the edge. Not think about what you're doing. Not the clinical intervention language that treats suicide like a technical problem to be solved. Jenny asked about the children because she understood something fundamental. People who want to die haven't stopped loving. They've stopped believing their love matters. For 6 minutes, Jenny and Sarah talked about the children, their favorite foods, the bedtime stories Sarah read to them, the way the youngest one still couldn't pronounce spaghetti correctly. Jenny asked what the kids would remember most about their mother. Sarah started crying, then talking, about reading together every night, about the silly songs they sang in the car, about being the person who kissed their scraped knees and taught them to be kind. They're going to need someone to teach them those things, Jenny said quietly. Someone who already knows exactly what they need. Someone who's been doing it their whole lives. On Jenny's screen, the crisis team was 2 minutes away. 8 minutes into the call, Sarah said the words Jennifer had been working toward. "I don't know if I can do this, but I don't think I want to die." "You don't have to know if you can do it," Jenny replied. "You just have to not do the other thing. Right now, in this moment, just stay with me on this phone." 30 seconds later, crisis intervention officers arrived on the bridge. They approached slowly, speaking Sarah's name. They knew her name because Jennifer had learned it, documented it, transmitted it to the team racing to save her. Sarah stepped back from the railing. Jenny's role ended the moment officers made contact with Sarah. She documented the call, marked it as crisis intervention successful, and moved on to the next emergency in queue. She never learned Sarah's real name, never saw her face, never found out what happened after she was transported to the psychiatric facility. This is the reality of Jenny's work. She saves lives she'll never see, helps people she'll never meet, and carries the weight of connections that exist only in 8-minute windows of desperate need. Call 47 was closed. Tomorrow there might be call 48. Emergency dispatch centers operate 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. At any given moment, dispatchers across the country are answering calls from people in crisis. Some calls are medical emergencies, where dispatchers guide untrained bystanders through CPR or childbirth. Some are crimes in progress, where dispatchers are the lifeline for terrified victims. Some are disasters, where dispatchers coordinate massive response efforts. And some are suicide calls, where dispatchers become the only thing standing between someone and death. Jenny Jakes is one of the numerous emergency dispatchers working in the United States. Most will never be recognized for the lives they save. These hands have typed over 100,000 emergency calls in 11 years. They've dispatched ambulances, police units, fire trucks, and crisis intervention teams. But 47 times, these hands did something else. They typed the words that would help someone choose life. They documented the details that would guide rescue teams. They held steady while Jennifer's voice became the anchor someone needed to stay alive. Jenny's hands have never touched any of the 47 people she's saved. She's guided them through phone lines, convinced them through words, held them through voice alone. She's saved 47 lives without ever seeing a single face. At 7:15 a.m., Jenny logs out of her workstation. Her replacement takes her seat, puts on the headset, and continues the endless cycle of answering emergency calls. Jenny drives home through morning traffic. She stops at a coffee shop where the barista knows her order. She picks up groceries for dinner. She goes home to her daughter and helps her get ready for school. She looks like everyone else going about their morning routines. No one at the coffee shop knows she talked someone off a bridge 6 hours ago. No one at the grocery store knows she saved 47 lives. Jenny Jakes is completely, utterly invisible. And that's exactly how emergency dispatchers spend their careers. Jenny's daughter knows her mother is a 911 dispatcher. She knows her mom helps people during emergencies. She's proud when teachers talk about first responders, and she can say her mom is one. But she doesn't know about the 47 calls. She doesn't know that sometimes her mother comes home and sits in the car for 20 minutes before coming inside because she needs to decompress from hearing someone's darkest moment. She doesn't know that Jenny sometimes wakes up at 3 a.m. thinking about voices she heard years ago, wondering if they're okay, knowing she'll never find out. This is the cost of being an emergency dispatcher. You carry everyone's crisis, and no one carries yours. When Jenny returns for her next shift, she doesn't know what calls are waiting. She doesn't know if tonight will be routine emergencies or if she'll talk to call 48. She logs into her workstation. She checks her equipment. She reviews the critical calls from the previous night's shift. She puts on her headset, and she waits for someone, somewhere in her county, to need help. Because that's what emergency dispatchers do. They show up, they answer, and they save lives you'll never read about. Right now, there are numerous emergency dispatchers working in the United States. They handle over 240 million 911 calls every year. They're the first voice you hear when you call for help. They're the calm presence during your worst moments. They're the ones who stay on the line during emergencies when everyone else is running away. They guide untrained people through CPR. They talk people through childbirth in parking lots. They coordinate responses to mass casualty events. They dispatch help to domestic violence victims. They locate lost children. They send ambulances to heart attacks and fire trucks to burning buildings. And they talk strangers back from suicide over and over without ever meeting the people they save. These aren't just people who answer phones. They're crisis intervention specialists who make life and death decisions in seconds. They're emotional support for terrified callers. They're tactical coordinators for complex emergencies. They work 12-hour shifts watching computer screens, answering calls, and carrying the emotional weight of hundreds of other people's worst days. They make an average of $18 to $22 per hour to do work that would emotionally destroy most people within a month. They experience secondary trauma from calls they'll never forget. They lose sleep over voices they'll never hear again. And they come back, shift after shift, year after year, because someone has to answer when people call for help. When I asked Jenny how she continues doing this work after 47 suicide calls, after 11 years of hearing people's worst moments, her answer revealed everything about the heart of an emergency dispatcher. Every call I answer might be someone's only lifeline, she said. Every person who calls 911 is reaching out because they need help, and I might be the only one who can provide it in that moment. I'll never meet the 47 people I talked back from suicide. I'll never know what happened to them after that call ended. But somewhere out there, they're alive because I answered the phone and convinced them to stay. That's not heroism. That's just showing up and doing what needs to be done. Someone has to answer. Someone has to care. Someone has to be the voice that says your life matters when someone has forgotten that it does. If Jenny's story opened your eyes to the invisible heroes answering 911 calls, share it with someone who needs to understand that emergency dispatchers save lives every day without ever seeing the people they help. If you know an emergency dispatcher, take a moment to acknowledge the emotional weight they carry. Thank them not just for coordinating emergency response, but for being the calm voice, during other people's worst moments. And if you are an emergency dispatcher watching this after a difficult shift, remember Jennifer's words. You are someone's lifeline. Your voice is the difference between hope and despair for people in crisis. Every life you save matters, even if you never learn their names or see their faces. You don't just dispatch help. You are the help in the most critical moments when someone needs a reason to stay alive. Remember, the next time you see a 911 dispatcher, know that they've probably saved lives you'll never hear about. They've talked people through crises you can't imagine. They've been the voice of hope for someone's darkest moment. They answer when you call. The least we can do is recognize their courage, their compassion, and their willingness to carry burdens that would break most of us. Subscribe to The Quiet Brave for more stories about the people who saved lives from the shadows. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a story about the heroes whose work you'll never see but desperately need.